how has been India's experience to SAP?
SAP has a very good footprint in India. We've focused on areas more traditional to manufacturing to begin with, but now we have a huge focus in the public sector, in the government, education and healthcare sector here in India.
India is a very big country, it's a very diverse country. People say within 5 kilometers the dialects get changed, within 10 kilometers the taste of the water gets changed. So how you are actually managing this diversity?
Well, we're looking to bring some standards and some global best practices to India with our software. So that's processes that are embedded in the solution. So although there may well be differences per state, we're looking to bring some standards and some standard approaches across the different states to bring them into a global best practice.
How promising India has been so far to you?
For public sector in particular, it's very promising. For healthcare, extremely promising. I'm very pleased with the conference and the amount of activity and focus, particularly around the healthcare track. And I think SAP, with its broad footprint for healthcare, can bring a lot of value to the Indian market.
What are the major challenges have you faced so far in terms of the implementation of some of your own programs, some of the initiative that you want to take, but some hurdles are there? So how has been your journey so far? What are the challenges that you face?
Well, our journey in India is quite new, and what we're looking to do is to establish some wonderful reference sites. That's really our first step into the Indian market. So we're looking to work with some very established hospital chains who are looking to step into that next level of off-the-shelf software and to take that journey with SAP, and then we're looking to make them references on which other hospitals can take an opinion.
Have you been able to collaborate with some big giants in the hospital sector?
We have some successes, and we have discussions with many individual hospitals and groups. And of course, we already work with a number of hospital chains outside of India who are actually now opening up in India themselves.
Is there any specific of your interaction with the hospitals? Who are those and how has been your talk with them? At what level it is?
So I guess the talk has been around our broad footprint of solution. We have operational software to cover the back office, clinical and patient management software for the patient and the doctor and nurse. We even have software now that looks after the patient once they've left the hospital. So somebody who may have a chronic disease, we just presented on the solution around mobility for the doctor and the nurse to be able to use while they're moving around the hospital. And of course we have business intelligence, which sits across the top with business objects. And I think that's where a lot of Indian hospitals want to head to. They not only want to collect the data, but then they want to be able to use that data to make better decisions around the outcomes for the patient and the efficiency for the hospital.
In India, the hospital sectors and some of other social sector is still considered as the government job, and the private sector has been involved, but they have not been very successful in delivering the service to the intended beneficiaries, the poor people. Is there any solution, any service, any equipment that you can provide where the services to the poor people at the bottom level can be mobilized?
Yes, we've worked with a particular solution that allows to look after the health of the patient when they're outside the hospital, so in the rural environment. But we also want to support the hospital to become more efficient and more effective so that they can have in the private sector a good profit margin and still deliver good health, or in the private sector to be able to have that broad range of services to cover the whole community.
Have you approached to the government organization? How has been response?
The response has been very positive. We've got some very good references around the globe, And I think there's a view from a number of the Indian private hospitals and public hospitals about gaining that knowledge that's happened elsewhere in the world, and how can they pick up those benefits and apply them within their own hospital.
And how has been the experience of eINDIA Summit? India has been organizing this summit since last many years. Does it catalyze the interaction between business to business, business to customers? Does it serve your purpose?
Yes, I think this is one of the best interactions we can have. In an environment like this, you can network to meet a number of hospitals. You share with your own partners and your own vendor community. And we all get together, both customers and vendors, to share and talk. So I think it's an excellent forum. I think the speaking presentations really share and educate the audience. So it's a great session all round.
People say in India there is a still untapped market uh, in healthcare sector, like point of care health facilities which should have been provided, which is not there in a good number. How can SAP mobilize or catalyze those process? Do SAP has any solution for that? Because you are an international organization, you have a lot of experience in international exposure. Especially the people in India would love to get your service.
So I think what we see is a lot of activity, discussions, and even projects in India which we hadn't seen before, both in the private and the public sector, where they're looking to invest in IT in healthcare. We've been talking about it for a long while, but in this last year, and particularly at this conference, we really see serious projects moving ahead. And yes, SAP can bring not only the solution, but also the experiences that we've had in other markets, which can help the private and the public hospital become more efficient in their back office for their procurement, the inventory, where you can really save money and become more efficient. That money can then be spent into the healthcare, into buying new machines, new MRI scanners. And our solution also works for the nurse and the doctor and the administrator on the practical side of the hospital as well. We're quite unique in having a broad footprint across all those on a single application that can work in an enterprise environment. So maybe work as a single instance across large hospital chains.
You talk about how SAP is involved in India, what all the service you can probably bring in. Every market has their own challenges. What are the major challenges you see in India?
I think one of the challenges is there are so many opportunities. In the room we've heard today, there are so many projects, so many interested parties. People really want to know and gather information about what's the right step, what's the right approach. India healthcare is definitely on the journey. You know, we can see the journey has started. For many years it was spoken about, but now the hospitals are moving, private and public, I'll repeat again. We think there's a long journey to walk down, but it's very encouraging and exciting to be at this conference to experience the vibe that's happening in healthcare in India.
All these good ideas you talk about, all the positive vibes that you are getting from here, can only be implemented if there is a proper government, a support of the government which is in power. So, what is your experience of the political activism and the governance in India? Is it supportive of the new ideas, innovative ideas?
I think for many years people spoke about what to do and where they should go and where should the journey take us. I see now the people have started. Hospitals have started projects, private definitely, public now starting the journey. It's really is refreshing to have the public hospitals here in such a force, asking so many questions. It's moving, it's happening right now.
India is a very big country, as I told you, how diverse it is. From your own experience, you might have traveled to different cities. You also have international experience. You are heading as a director of SAP. What would be the best way forward for India for the development of healthcare sector? If I have to ask you from a foreign element point of view, somebody who can actually give a very impartial understanding of Indian healthcare sector, what should be the best way forward for us actually?
Well, I think India has a great opportunity because it can now maybe leapfrog some of the steps that other countries have slowly stepped through. It can look at their experience. Technology has also moved ahead, so it can take advantage of those of the new technology. It needs a foundation in the hospital. You need to have a business solution in the hospital to run the hospital. This gives the management the ability to control not only the efficiency but also the patient outcomes. But we see things today in the mobility area where we spoke about SAP's mobility app given to the doctor, where in the past the doctor never engaged with IT. India can jump that whole boundary and be able to use the devices that are around to get the doctor engaged with IT from the start. So India has a huge opportunity.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been wonderful talking to you, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.